What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to my booktube channel. I am going to be doing a book tag today. I'm very excited. I was tagged by Sui's Book Banter to do a April showers tag, so I'm going to be giving book recommendations for rainy days, and I am wearing my spring outfit. I'm going to try to sound as excited as I can, even though I'm quite sick, feeling under the weather. That's probably perfect for this book tag. The originator of this book tag is Sabrina at Beyond the Book Reviews. Today is a very rainy April day, which is, well, the vibes are not immaculate, but the vibes are appropriate. I'm going to be answering the questions in this tag, sharing some rainy day book recommendations, and these recommendations are going to be some, not hot takes, let's say damp takes. They're going to be maybe some random books that you've never heard of before, or books from authors you may have heard of but haven't considered reading, or books that you have heard of and wouldn't consider for this book tag. Number one is Share a Book with Water on the Cover, and the book I chose for this one was River Thieves by Michael Crummy. And he is a Canadian author. I read this for a Canadian literature class, and I know many people believe that Canadian literature doesn't exist, but if you're interested in reading something that is considered by many to be Canadian literature, this is it. It's like Canadian pastoral literature or Canadian landscape literature. If you're interested in something or have read before Susanna Moody's Roughing It in the Bush, this is not a companion, but it definitely has the same vibes. This is a set of journals written by a British settler who is working the land in early Canada, and this is not that. This is an interesting take on the 19th century naval exploits of one officer in Canada and the often racist perception of Indigenous people in what was called the Bay of Exploits in early Canada. If you're interested at all in landscapes of Canada, there is a lot of Newfoundland landscapes in this book. It is beautifully written in terms of description. Many people find it to be very slow, which it is, but if you're reading a landscape or pastoral book, why believe that it will be a fast-paced book? This is a slow-paced rainy day read. If it's raining for a week, you might even finish it. The next question is, what is a classic book you would curl up on the couch with? And without a doubt in my mind, this is the book that I want to reread, this classic that isn't on my TBR, but I want to reread it in the near future, and that is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I loved this book, and I think now I will love it even more. Most people know the general plot of Shelley's Frankenstein. I'm not going to go too much into it, but this book is a gothic tale. However, it is the most beautifully told gothic tale. I was intrigued all the way through. This is not a slow read. This was fast for me. I was gobbled up by this book more than I gobbled it up. Like, it had me. I annotated it heavily, and I am looking forward to going through it again and kind of reading it critically based on those annotations. I know I've changed a lot as a person since I read it last, and this would be a very, very cozy read for me, I believe. So this next one is share a scary book recommendation that you would recommend reading on a rainy day, and that would be, for me, Stephen King is as scary as it gets. I'm sorry, I'm a baby, I'm a scaredy cat. And I would recommend Misery by Stephen King, or if you wanted to use a rainy day as a good opportunity to get yourself into a series, The Gunslinger, which is the first book in the Dark Tower series. These get scary. I stopped reading them partway through because they were so scary, and I did have to pick it back up a while later when I was able to compose myself. But a rainy day is a perfect time to get stuck into a series because you have the time. What else are you going to do? It's raining. Sit on the couch, read The Gunslinger. But of course, Misery is a fantastic. It's a snowy day kind of book. But if it's snowing and maybe it doesn't rain where you live, Misery is the way to go. Next question is, what's a good book recommendation for a rainy day? And when I was in my 20s, my big book recommendation for people, if they were looking to read something maybe Canadian or something from an author they enjoyed but possibly hadn't read, was this one. This is Surfacing by Margaret Atwood. This is my annotated version of it. I have a pretty version somewhere that I haven't touched, but this is my favorite Margaret Atwood novel, and I don't think she would agree. Objectively, she does have better novels, but this one makes me feel closer to Margaret Atwood than any of her other ones. This reads as an exploratory novel. It reads as a novel that she tried new things in, and it's just an interesting little book. Originally, this book was $1.95. And just look at that smolder. Look at her. The Surfacing is a story of a young woman who goes into the forest searching for her father. We don't know why she's searching for her father. We don't know how long he's been missing or if he's missing. And she also brings along 3 of her friends and does not tell them why she's going into this forest. They go to her father's cabin. There's relationship drama, there's adventure drama, there's a lot of water in this book. And this book is a book of symbolism and metaphor. It is compelling. It's about the Canadian wilderness. Again, many book outlets, many reviews, like old reviews that I read of this book, describe it as a fable. And it definitely feels that way. It doesn't read that way necessarily, but it feels that way. If you've read Atwood's books before, if you've read books like The Edible Woman, Handmaid's Tale, Orcs and Crake, this most closely resembles The Edible Woman in terms of like vibes, but it is unlike any of her other books, and it has remained my favorite. It is also very short, so you could finish it in a day if you read fast. I don't know. Next is, what 2 characters would you like to spend a rainy day with? And I'm finally getting to expose one of my guilty pleasures, and that is Jim Butcher's Harry Dresden series. Harry Dresden is one of the characters I'd like to spend my rainy day with, and he is a wizard detective. If you're at all interested in reading about just fantasy inserted into the real world, with wizards and werewolves and vampires and all that, but just on top of Chicago, the Harry Dresden Files are a fun, fast read, and a wizard detective, like, come on, it's so fun. So Harry Dresden is one of them, and the other would be Hercule Poirot. I love Agatha Christie. These are rainy day reads to me as well. I think spending my day with both of those guys would be fantastic. They have some ridiculous stories. They would be baffled by each other. It would just be a ping pong match of interesting anecdotes being flung back and forth with, I think, probably very little understanding of what the other is saying, but oh my goodness. If you know, I think you would agree. Yeah, check out those Jim Butcher books if you're interested in just having like a fun read. It'd also probably be a really good way to bust through a reading slump. The first 2 books are especially fun reads. Okay, the next question is, I'm gonna answer this question with 2 books again because I'm cheating. And that question is, name a book with blue on its cover. And the next 2 books that I'm reading in April are actually blue books. So there you go. We've got Flight Behavior by Barbara Kingsolver and Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. Both are very blue, both have covers. Oh, and I'm not going to talk about them at all because this is part of my judging books by their covers challenge, and I really liked these covers, probably because they were blue. Blue is one of my favorite colors, but I'm not reading the blurbs on the back or anything about them online, so I know nothing about these books. I'm very excited to read them. Next up is name a book that has a rainy setting at some point, and I chose Pride and Prejudice. I have not read this book in a long time. I have watched the movie many times because it's one of my mom's favorite movies. In the time between reading this last and now, the rain scene is not the second rain scene. Not like the steamy rain scene.
Forgive me.
The first rain scene, there's actually quite a few. But the first rain scene where the eldest Bennett sister gets sick is really the kernel, I think, of the movie. But in the book, it happens on page like 24. It's like this far into the book. So that scene, which is so key in the film that is so popular, is really not a super key scene in the book, but it still kind of resonates with me as a very rainy book where they go from house to house and are really kind of governed by the weather. Pride and Prejudice. Next, and I'm being honest now, but this answer may change in the future. What book would you not mind using as an umbrella? And my answer right now, current day, April 10th-ish, 11th, my watch doesn't have a calendar on it, 2024, my answer is Moby Dick by Herman Melville. Not only is it wide enough to use it as an umbrella, it's thick enough so that the pages wouldn't soak through. I also didn't love it very much. I wouldn't mind if this got wet, but I'm hoping my opinion will change. I'm hoping that I will be able to enjoy this book for some reason in the future. But as it is right now, I haven't enjoyed it. So it can get wet. Second to last question, who's one character you wouldn't mind sharing your umbrella with? I know a lot of people have taken this in a very lovey kind of way, but to be quite honest, like, tell me you're an elementary school teacher without telling me you're an elementary school teacher, and don't show me your cardigan. Matilda. I would share my umbrella with Matilda any day. That girl needs all the love in the world. And finally, share a book that has a dry beginning but an awesome ending. And I'm not going to share a novel, although I think the prompt says novel. I'm going to actually just share a book. And if you're into reading and you haven't read graphic novels, but you're also like into superheroes, bro, read a graphic novel. Read Hush. Batman's Hush by Joseph Loeb, Jim Lee, and Scott Williams. It starts off very generic, but then it just kind of goes, and you get a very good sense of who Batman is, or who really you would want Batman to be if you are at all a fan of Batman, which I am. I love Batman. So if you're looking for a graphic novel, you want to get into like the superhero realm, read Hush. It's fantastic, especially the end, or the middle to the end. The second and third act. Yeah! Alrighty, thank you for joining me for this book tag, and thank you for sticking around till the very end of this video. If you've enjoyed this video or any of my previous videos and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Give me a thumbs up, like this video, click that bell if you're so inclined, and I thank you so much for letting me share my opinions with you. I'm going to tag a few people down below, but this is an open tag. If you want to be tagged in something and you haven't yet, take this as your opportunity to complete a book tag. This was a really fun one. Kind of gives you an opportunity to give all recommendations of all varieties. And I hope my behavior in this video hasn't turned you off too much. I am, again, quite under the weather, and maybe I turned it on a little bit too much this morning. But enjoy the rest of whatever day it is for you, and I will see you in the